April 1st, 2018. Today was my birthday. I didn't even know Greg was born on April Fools. I'm officially 14. Hard to believe that next year I'll be in high school. It's weird. Imagine going to high school in the old America, where there was no worry on our minds, no looming threat, no nuclear bombings. But, of course, that's not what's happening. Trump put it best at the State of the Union. This is a new age in our history, an atomic age. That shook me up a bit when I heard it. But I guess he's right. I had a few friends over for my birthday, but at the end of the day, I realized that life was different in almost every way imaginable. The stock markets reopened today for the first time and understandably took a big dive. I heard Rowdy's dad is losing a lot of money over it.
The Dow Jones Industrial fell 29% on reporting today. It looks like we're heading for another recession.
That won't help my investment portfolio. He's also an architect, and tons of his buildings got destroyed by the bombs. So his business is losing a lot of money and are laying off nearly everybody. Meanwhile, the government is going to sending crews to the bomb sites for the first time to try and clear the radiation. Apparently, it's part of a plan called Operation Reconstruction to build back the cities. What I can say is it better work because things here aren't going so great. Travel between different areas on the state is limited, and you can't even go 2 countries over since the city is still gone. Supplies are still being airlifted in. At the moment, we have as much food as we did before, so we're pretty okay. The refugees aren't in such good shape though. I heard of a rumour that the government is giving them much less food than they're giving us, and that some of them are starving. Then again, my source for this isn't the most reliable. It's true, guys. I'm telling you, I saw it for myself. Meanwhile, lots of refugees are still living in the woods or in the park. I walked by the park on the way to Chirag's home last week. It looks like the refugees and the Mingos are helping each other out with food and water. Speaking of the refugees, Mum came to us at lunch yesterday with an announcement. Jeez, I don't even know how I butchered that word. At first, I thought she was going to get on our case about leaving the toilet seat up or something. But then she said something that surprised both of us. Mom got a job. Damn, she's employed now, fam. Yikes. She was a little shaken up about Dad, but she pulled herself back together and told us that since Dad died, she would have to leave her job at the newspaper to start working at the survivor containment faculty. Apparently, they need volunteers to feed the refugees, clean the place, and other stuff. Mom told us she's going to be teaching the kids of the refugees and that she's going to start a reading is fun club for them. I gotta say, it's a good thing she's doing this instead of the newspaper, because honestly, there's only so much you can write about these days. How to teach your child about nuclear fallout. Ever since the recent atomic bombings, my 5-year-old has been bursting with questions. Susan Heffley. May 15th, 2018. It's been about a month since Mom started working with the refugees. Usually she'd pick us up from school after the bombings, but she didn't want us walking alone. But she was working longer and longer hours every day, so now it was back to walking with Rowley. Anyway, today was a strange day for 2 different reasons. I was walking home with Rowley when we decided to take a shortcut through the woods behind the school. Now, normally I avoid these woods because they're miles wide, and most of them have really confusing trails. But what was still much better than having to pass Fregley. Wanna see my mucus museum? No thanks. Anyway, Riley started walking through the woods. We eventually got to a clearing where we stopped for our break. That's when we heard voices in the trees. At first, I thought we stumbled into one of Grandpa's Vietnam War memories, but a minute later, we heard rustling in the bushes. The rustling was getting louder and louder. You know when you're so scared you can't even run? That's how I felt. I was paralyzed, and so was Rowley. Whoever or whatever was coming for us wasn't slowing down. I picked up a stick to defend myself, but then I saw who it was. It was a family of refugees. I thought they must have been from the group that allied themselves with the Mingos, but last I heard they stayed away from that part of the forest near the school, so I figured they must have been from the SCF. They didn't say anything to us, but somehow we both understood each other. They ran past us down a path to the left. A minute later, a man in an army uniform came running after them. Ryan and I pointed them in the opposite direction. What had I done? For all I knew, I had just aided fugitives, criminals. Besides, why would they escape from the only place where they were guaranteed food and shelter? But I knew there was more to it than that. I just felt like that I had to do it. The world is so a confusing place right now. And when I got home, it became even more confusing. I'm joining the army. I don't know what to say. Roderick said that he and his bandmates felt so horrified by the bombs that they wanted to go to Tajikistan to fight the terrorists. How does that make sense? I never figured loaded diaper would be patriotic enough to put their lives at stake for America, but I guess nothing surprises me anymore. They'd be leaving this June for Fort Jacobs, where they'd train and then be shipped out to Tajikistan. Hopefully. Mom wasn't sure. She had already lost her husband after the bombings and she didn't want to lose her son too. But from what I know about Roderick, the army wasn't going to let him go near the front lines in Tajikistan anytime soon. Roderick and I went outside for a bit after that. He told me everything he had read about the army, and what he told me sounded pretty cool, until I realized his idea of the army was based almost entirely off Vietnam movies. Ain't me, I'm no fortunate one. I don't even know what song that is. Good morning, Tajikistan. Somehow, I have a feeling that even if they give him a desk job, he'll manage to get himself killed. I swung by Chirag's house later and we hanged out a bit with Rowley. I admit, this week has been crazy. I just hope life gets back to normal soon. Like Roderick never joined the army, like Dad never died, like the bombs never went off. That'd be nice. July 2018. It's been a while since I wrote in this thing, huh? I haven't been busy or anything, I just forgot. It's been a slow few months. Mom's been working day and night at the SCF, and she looks more tired every day. I finished middle school last month, and boy, does it feel good to be out of that place. I gotta say, I don't see how high school could be any worse. The world outside seems less quiet. Planes are flying again in parts of the state, cars are on the highway again, but it still feels wrong, like the bombings took away a part of our lives. Nothing feels the same anymore. Roderick was also shipped out to Tajikistan recently, and I've been getting letters from him every week. Here's one. Hey Greg, how's life? Mine's pretty good. For a war zone, Tajikistan is pretty nice. There's lots of mountains and rivers. My buddy Steve and I went on a hike and took some nice pictures. The other army dudes, even the Tajik guys, think it's cool that we were in a band and we even showed them Exploded Diaper. I haven't seen any action yet, and at the moment, we're just walking through the country, trying to spot any terrorists. A couple of guys going to fight with some of them over in the south part of the country, but they beat them. I'm stationed Dushbane. What? Bro, this is such terrible spelling of my name. The capital city. There's some nice buildings there, and the food is great. These people are really poor though. I thought we had it banned it in America, but most of these guys can't even afford food. I'll be home soon enough, Greg. Our operations are pretty simple, and my general think we will have beat the terrorists by New Year's. Roderick. September 23rd, 2018. So yeah, I started high school this month. Let me tell you, all those movies lied to you. I thought there would be groups of jocks, nerds, girls, geeks, and pretentious jerks. Turns out they're all pretentious jerks. Ryan and I are in the same class, so it could be worse. Of course, some things are different than a normal school year. Students are subject to regular searches for safety reasons. The district announced a bunch of new safety precautions for security reasons. I get that they're nervous after the bombings, but it's not like Albert has a nuke in his bag. When I got home today, Mom was sitting down. She had a day off from the SCF for the first time this week, and she looked pretty upset. I asked her what was wrong. At first she just sighed and said that she was just tired, and like she did when I asked her the same thing yesterday. But then, suddenly, she started talking quickly. She started saying that the building was filled over capacity, that guards were hoarding food, and that the government was giving some of the rations for the refugees to the citizens of Plainview. Even though we have plenty already, she said that the refugees were like prisoners and that they were forced to do unpaid labor, even little children. At least a dozen had died from lack of medicine and food, and she was surprised that there hadn't been a rebellion yet. At first, I thought this was kind of ridiculous. Why would the United States do that to anyone? But then I got thinking, And I figured that this sort of stuff has happened before, but not in this country. I asked mom if there was anything she could do, but she just sighed and that none of the guards would listen to reason, and that the longer they were in charge, the more authoritarian they became. I had to go for a walk to clear my head after that. I honestly couldn't believe something like this was happening in America in 2018, but nothing this year feels real. I met up with Rally afterwards to do some homework, but none of us could concentrate. We eventually turned on the TV to see what was going on in Tajikistan. Apparently, it was revealed that the Uzbek and Turkmen governments were caught sheltering terrorists, and NATO was considering an invasion of them. I also got another letter from Roderick. Hey Greg, what's up? I had my first mission today. The general sent my group to chase some terrorists out of a cave they were using as a base, but they got away. There was a lot of shooting and a few guys were shot. They might be dead. It's a lot scarier than how it's on TV. It's louder, and I felt bad having to see my fellow soldiers die. Apparently, the terrorists are fleeing into Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan to get away. The general says we might have to invade the countries to get the terrorists. I'm a little worried, but I want to do this for Dad. They need to pay for killing him and all of those other people. See you, Roderick Heffley.